What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Puck Rock Rangers. I'm Stefan, this is Palmer, and we are deeply, sincerely sorry that it took us so long to get back to you guys. But life has been happening, and a lot's going on with the Rangers, and we have a lot to talk about. So let's get into it. Alright, guys. So, a lot has happened. It's been about, like a month, you think, since we've recorded, since we've come out with an episode, something like that?
Yeah, right at a month, I would say, because it was right before what we'll get into in a second. But yeah, been about a month. We're going to try to get back on at least our off-season schedule, which was supposed to be every 2 to 3 weeks, depending on what's going on. So, might be another 2 to 3 weeks before you hear from us. You know, it's mid-July, late July, getting to be late July, and there's just not a whole lot going on in the hockey world, in the Rangers world. But yeah, we're going to try to get back on schedule here. You know, some life stuff's gone on, but that's clearing up, and we should be able to get right back to it. So we appreciate you guys sticking with us.
Yep.
And let's get into some personal intros, and then we'll get on with the show. What's going on with you? What's in your world, Stefan? What's going on?
I'm just going to keep it short and sweet. Not a whole lot's changed. Family life, work life, everything's pretty much the same as all the rest of the episodes. Life's been treating me all right, and I can't wait for hockey to come back. What's going on with you, man?
I'm happy to hear that for you, and that's typically how I am, and I'm not going to get too into it, but you know, my year so far and summer has been, I would describe as to hell and back. You know, lost a dog recently, was the best fucking dog, frankly.
Yeah.
Jobin, R.I.P. Just a sad, tragic thing. And in the same week, we didn't line it up this way intentionally, but in the same week got a puppy. So that's why I say to hell and back, because little Bojack is the puppy's name. He's been a breath of fresh air, and that's been really awesome. Aside from that, working with Coded, brought in some new members, at least one, potentially a second, working on the demo. I know I've been saying that, but we had to kind of restructure as far as the band members and get that going again. But and then just living life, working, you know, just trying to get things going. This has not been the year of Palmer, but that's all right. Not every year is your year, and things move forward. But let's get into, and I feel like such a downer. Not everything's bad. It's just been kind of shit. But let's get into Ranger stuff. We're not gonna rehash everything. The last couple weeks, the draft passed, free agency started.
Yep.
You know, free agency, there's that frenzy the first day or so, and then it kind of peters out. You might see a couple moves and signings here and there before training camp opens up. But right now, I mean, this is really the time of year where players and GMs are on vacation, playing softball and doing charity events and golfing and whatever they get into. and there's not a ton going on, but a couple things we wanted to get into. Major news of the summer, really, has been the Kreider move to Anaheim.
Yep.
And quickly, I'll say that the major move of free agency was signing Vladislav Gavrikov from the Kings.
The tongue twister.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot to say. I'll probably just call him Gabs or Vladdy or something like that.
Yeah, Vladdy.
But what do you know about this guy? Do you know anything? I did a little bit of homework, but
I know he was the number one ranking free agent defenseman available. And I feel like I should know more about him, but I don't. He came from the Los Angeles Kings, and yeah, I'm curious to see how it pans out. You know, give Fox someone to work with on that top D line.
yeah,
You know, it's just been a shit cycle of giving him players who should not be on that top line with him, and apparently this is the guy to get if you want to. A top 4 defenseman who's going to be, you know, a good player to complement Fox. So I'll be excited to see how that goes. But I really don't know a whole lot about his gameplay and style. I never paid attention.
Yeah, from what I've gathered and heard from, you know, other shows and just kind of seen, you know, talk around the league and on X and everything else, is that he's pretty much a stay-at-home D. He can chip in on offense, but don't expect 50, 60, 70 points. Not going to happen. He's a largely a stay-at-home defender. He's the Jeff Bukaboom to Brian Leach. He's the Dan Girardi to Ryan McDonough. He's going to be staying home, cleaning up the trash,
supporting cast.
Getting the puck out. Doing the kind of lunch pail stuff that Ryan McDonough was doing in his heyday, but just kind of fell off from. And it'll be good to see Fox have a legit partner. By far and away the best partner he's had through his career. And I'm excited, for Gavrikov. Another big move we should touch on real quick before we move on to Kreider is K'Andre Miller. That was kind of a free agency move, more so on the end of Carolina, but the Rangers, it was kind of written. Both deals were written. It was kind of, the writing was on the wall as far as Gavrikov coming to New York. I mean, he wanted to come here. We needed a right D. Boom, And then K'Andre Miller, about midway through the season last year, it came out that his agent and him were seeking a significant raise. And at the time, if you remember, I said go get the kid a ladder, because that's the only it's the only way I would want to raise him, or beyond a bridge. And I've talked my shit about K'Andre Miller. I would have been amenable to a bridge deal of some sort, but I would not have locked him down anywhere near the way Carolina did. And good on them. They have a good structure and a good system. I think he'll be a better Hurricane than he was a Ranger, but I still don't think he's going to be this top defenseman that's worth the years and the money.
Who won the deal?
I think right off the bat, the Rangers won the deal.
I think
but
so too.
That's one of those. It's really hard to say. I've thought about that, and that's why I was reluctant to say. It really is one of those where it's going to come out in the wash. It's going to come out in a couple of years. It depends. I say the Rangers, but the Rangers got a first, a second, and defenseman prospect Scott Morrow. It really comes down to what works out for who.
Yeah.
Does K'Andre Miller? That's just the ghost. Don't worry about him. Does K'Andre Miller reclaim his career and right the ship and reach that potential that is so vaunted and talked about? Scott Morrow is a touted prospect that could work out for the Rangers. What do they do with the picks? It really just depends. What do you think about the deal? Who won?
I think the Rangers won. I mean, solely based off the fact. Would you call it a fleece? No, I wouldn't call it a fleece, but I would say we definitely won the deal based off of how the fan base was reacting towards K'Andre Miller's play on the ice. Half the fan base said we would have traded him for a turd sandwich. Like, just get him out of here. We don't care what we get back. So, being that we got a first and a second, and don't even got to wait a few years for it, a first and a second in next year's draft, I think we definitely won the deal. We wanted him gone. Carolina thinks they got a sweet deal. They think they got this new sexy flexy player, but I guess we will have to see how it plays out. But I don't really see him going on to be like, this absolute stud dog of a player like Carolina thinks that they're in for.
He's going to be a Brent Burns light.
Yeah.
A big rangy guy that can move the puck, that can chip in on offense, but he's not going to be this shut down defender. I saw an article or something come out of Carolina where they were saying, "Oh, we got this big physical enforcer." And look, I'm not trying to take shots at any look, I got some homies that are Carolina fans. I mean, Carolina's geographically the closest team to us. Them are Capitals. But, enforcer. I mean, there's not many enforcers in the league anyways, but K'Andre Miller is not an enforcer. Take one look at his Instagram. That dude is not an enforcer.
He's enforcing the fashion world.
Yes, he's a force in the fashion world. Yeah. I'll tell you what, I hope he likes barbecue sandwiches.
He's a force for her.
He's going to look forward to like times that he gets to go play in New York again. Yeah. I mean, Carolina's a cool place, but that's going to be a culture shock, man, for a young, posh Drake, as he is, to go from New York to Raleigh.
I wish I had the little soundbite for that, the little banjo.
Yeah, that would be a good one. But
So,
yeah, I think it honestly, you want my honest take. I think it's a good deal for both teams if it works out for both teams. So we'll have to really just kind of see how it goes. I'm feeling lovable, so I'm not gonna throw shade at Carolina and be like, I hope it doesn't work and they're stupid. It could work for them. It could definitely work for the Rangers, and I certainly hope it does.
Yeah, that's about where I'm at with it. I'm not as skippy as you are about it. Like, I hope he's trash for them, and I hope that their excitement and their dreams diminish just as much as ours did every single day. Every single time we had a hellacious turnover as a direct result of Keandre Miller making a low pressure play.
I can't wait. I can't wait for Keandre Miller to dish the puck to a Ranger in the dying seconds of a game or in overtime.
And it's funny because he came out talking trash, and he had that quote. He said, it'll be fun to be on the other side of it. Like, he goes on to talk about how it's not fun being pinned in your own zone. It'll be fun to be on the other side of it. It's like, dude, you were the reason
you're getting
50% of the time while we were pinned in our own zone. You were always out there. It could be something as simple as clear the puck, and he'll clear it right through where two opposing team players are standing. Like, you got this whole side open, and he's just like, oh, I'm going to get it through their feet. Like, it's dumb stuff like that. I think Carolina's probably going to find out about Keandre Miller. I mean, on paper, he's pretty good, but the mistakes he makes they almost always lead to, like, something devastating. So,
well, it's like, at what point do you stop getting high on upside?
Yeah.
And do you start actually seeing the upside? Look, I'll be honest, man, and I may or may not have said this on this pod, but, like, and you were right there with me at that time. Around early in Keandre's career. I mean, I was excited about the kid. We had a big, rangy, athletic. I mean, I think everyone felt that way, or at least the people watching. Even John Chick. I remember on Locked On Rangers that offseason, he said he predicted Keandre Miller to become a star or a superstar that season. And he just kind of plateaued, and then beyond plateauing, this season just went downhill. So we'll see. We'll see if some Carolina cooking can set him straight. But I wouldn't bank on it.
Yeah. You want to move on to Kreider?
Yes. Let's move on to Kreider. The more significant departure. Kreider is. He's 34. I'm 35. So we grew up together. That's the guy who came into the league basically right. I watched the Rangers a little bit as a kid, growing up, but I really started watching in my, early 20s, and that's right around when Kreider joined the team, and been watching him ever since, and he survived, a couple of different rebuilds, and I didn't mean for this to become a memorandum, but yeah, it's sad to see him go, but it had to happen, I think.
Yeah. I would have liked to see him have one more season with the Rangers. I understand, I get it, but it's hard because I'm not a super sentimental person. But Kreider, he's always been there. So many huge moments, so many clutch goals.
Yeah.
And me, I'm a absolute sucker for redirects and tip-ins. And once Pavelski retired, Chris Kreider was top dog for redirections and tip-ins. Like,
yeah,
it does not. Nobody is as good as Chris Kreider at redirecting a goal. And
I think
that's my bread and butter. So
I think Chris Kreider will absolutely have a bounce back season. I don't know about 50 goals or anything. I'm not saying anything like that. But I think 30, 35 goals, kind of back on pace where he was. He's going to get the opportunities, just that new team bump. He's got some of his buddies there. He's playing in SoCal. Just some of those things in itself, you'd think he's poised for a little bit of a bounce back. With Kreider,
he'll be back with Trouba.
With Kreider, I was sad to see him go. It also happened, and this is a very personal take, but it also happened at a time where, like, this summer I've been distracted. I've been elsewhere. I've had my hands tied up. I haven't really been as involved as normal with Ranger affairs. So when it kind of happened, it was like other shit was going on, and I just kind of took it on the chin. A strange comparison that has nothing to do with the Rangers, but seeing Marchand leave Boston during the season, I said it right then and there to myself. I said, because there was all the Kreider talk. I said, if Kreider leaves, seeing Marchand leave, the Bruins made Kreider leaving the Rangers easier.
Yeah.
It's the same way like when a band breaks up, you got to remind yourself that the Beatles broke up, that the Ramones broke up, that the bands break up. No Effects just broke up. Bands, there's a shelf life on everything. So when you remind yourself of that, you look at it from like a pragmatic sense. The Rangers had to shake things up. If we didn't get rid of Kreider, we would have been saying that Drury sat on his hands and didn't make moves. So it kind of had to happen.
Yeah, they definitely had to shake things up. And in the same token, like, they have got to get their shit together this coming up season. Like, there's no way that they can do that poorly and have that bad of a season after winning the President's Trophy and not pull their heads out of their asses and stop being mental sissies. Like, that's what it was. Kreider said in his interview, he said there was a lot of stuff in that locker room that the boys couldn't shake. Well, it's time to be a professional now. They have got to figure out whatever was bugging them, and let the rubber meet the road now. We got a lot of different things going on. Did you see how many players it was that started last season that are no longer now Rangers? Like 6 or 7 or maybe
6 or 7, and I think the number.
And that's just from the core.
The number since I heard this somewhere. It's like 12. It's up to 12 players since the President's Trophy. 12 players are gone off this roster.
Wheeler just retired too.
I mean, but we're talking like significant full-time, Hedl, Kakko, Trouba, Kreider, we don't have to rehash. There's a bunch.
You saw the big news about Jake
Miller.
Jake Lecision.
I don't even know who that is.
He got traded.
I heard something about that. We don't have to spend much time.
He played like 2 or 3 games.
Who cares?
Well, what is it?
We do not care. We do not care.
I'm new with the soundboard stuff, so this one's too long.
This is very long.
You get the point. We don't care.
All right. So. Where were we? So, and I meant to put in my notes, but the Kreider deal was for a forward prospect whose name right now is escaping me. This is really bad podcasting. Is it Corey Terrance?
Terrance. Yeah, I forget.
I don't know if
it is Terrance.
It's something Terrance.
It's Terrance. It's because I thought it was Terrence.
And
it's spelled Terrence, but it's pronounced Terrance.
Yeah, American kid. Kind of a swing AHL, NHL player. We'll see if he makes the lineup. Don't know much about him. I apologize. This is shitty podcasting, but yeah, Kreider, seeing him go, it was sad, but it didn't hit me as hard. And some of this is age too. I'm finding out that, like, especially with sports, you get a little desensitized, somewhat to guys leaving. Like when I was in my 20s and Zuccarello said goodbye, I mean, that was devastating.
Mm-hmm.
This didn't hurt as bad. So I think it's a combination of just me being kind of ready for it too. But
yeah, we'll miss him. I do appreciate everything he did. Everything he's done for the
Big
team.
time,
I appreciate it big time.
Trust me, I'm not going to be one of these assholes that boos Kreider. I think his name goes up. I think his numbers go up in the rafter. I like Kreider, man. I'm still.
And who knows? We might see a reunion like for his last season or something.
Yeah,
you never know. Like the Rangers do like to do that, where they bring someone back for a season or 2 or something like that.
Messier came back.
Messier and oh crap, what's his name? Miller just came back. So like the Rangers do have, they do reunite players sometimes. So maybe we'll get to see Kreider for later on down the road when things settle. Hopefully we win a cup between now and then, but who knows? Maybe we'll see it happen.
Let's I put down in the notes, I wanted to get into some ideal Ranger lines this season. And, these are not set in stone. There's still some moving pieces. There's still some people that could be moved or added to the roster. But I just kind of outlined them, and you can kind of just react to mine and chip in where you want. So I would think on the first line, and I'll preface this by saying I think you have to start Mika at the beginning of the season. You have to try him again at center. He is. I realize he played well on the wing as JT on the wing with JT Miller. But I think that is undervalue. Or, I think you need to get him on the center. If it flat out doesn't work, you pivot. But I think you got to try it starting the season. What do you think?
Well, give me the other two. You said Lyons.
Well, so,
now you just said Mika.
Well, so I was prefacing it by saying
you got as his wingers.
All right. Well, so Mika's on the second line. I'll just start with the first line: Panarin, JT, Lafreniere. Cooley, Mika, Gabe.
Hold on. Let me react to the first line first.
Right.
You said Panarin, Lafreniere, Cooley?
No. Sorry.
Miller.
We'll do a line by line.
I'm burnt out.
We'll do a line by line.
Yeah, one at a time. Let's
first
keep it
line,
simple.
Left wing, Panarin, centered by JT Miller, and Lafreniere on the right side, his natural right side.
I'm not a fan. I would do something. I would go a little different. If I had to pick a first line, I would go back to the President Trophy winning line of Breadman with Lafreniere and oh my gosh, and Troach. I would try that line again. I would try that line. They were the best line in hockey for an entire season, and because of this locker room funk, they seem to have not been able to produce like they were. And then you had Laviolette jumbling up lines in a blender here and there. Give them a chance again. They proved that they could be the most dominant line in the game, and I'd like to see him have another chance at least for a couple weeks. Like try him out again. I think Lafreniere is gonna have a bounce back season. Trocheck had a pretty good season. I think he could only improve if he's put with a couple other guys who aren't in a funk. And then Breadman, I don't see him slowing down too much more from what he did last year. He was our best player last year. And, yeah, I say give that same line a chance again. So that's who I'd go with for my first line.
A lot of folks, not only fans, but like podcasts and shows I've listened to and stuff, piled on Trocheck for his season last year. And he wasn't great, but by the numbers, he was kind of right on par for where he is.
Nobody was great.
He was an effective player on a bad team. So no one was great. I mean, really no one short of Cooley had a great season last year. And Cooley could have done better too, but it was still a bright spot.
If Sullivan can get the boys firing on all cylinders, that's the line I want to go with. If they're in a funk, then it doesn't matter because they're still in a funk.
Yeah.
So, it all depends on if they can pull their heads out of their asses.
Well, I like this. It's good for the pod and discussion that we disagree on these lines.
Yeah.
I had my lines Panarin, JT, Laff. So second line, we're not going to agree, but let's get into it. Left wing, Cooley, centered by Mika, and you try the kid, Gabe, the babe in the big city.
Okay, yeah, that's all right. That's all right line, I guess. I would go Miller as the 2C, and I'd have him with Perreault and Cooley. I have Perreault and Cooley. Are they both? It's hard because I don't remember.
Cooley is a natural left wing. Perreault is a natural right wing.
So then there you have it. So I would have Cooley, Perreault, and then centered by Miller. I think Miller is just that type of dog who having him out there while these two younger kids, and Cooley's a dog too. So it'd be like tears to it. I think that having Miller and Cooley on a line with Perreault could only lift him up. I don't see any downside in Perreault playing with those two guys.
No, people would at least have his back.
Yeah.
All right, so my third line, and I put an either or because I really think it's going to be a training camp battle between Othman and Berard on the left wing, centered by Vinny, and then new addition Taylor Radish, big body, was able to chip in on a good Washington team last year. I think the fourth line is kind of spoken for, so that's where he falls.
The Twin Towers line.
And then, did you want to speak on the third line? What's your?
Yeah, it's I'd have Mika center in the third line, and then whoever you got for his wingers. I don't really, that's like I said, that's just whoever's playing good. Whoever's playing good at the time.
Well, and it's easier for me because I'm looking at it, and there's a little bit of a logjam, and I put that here too. So the third line, I think we're in agreement. Edstrom, Carrick, Rempe.
Yeah, that fourth
line.
Yeah, get the Twin Towers out there. I loved watching them play. It was an electrifying line. I would argue that they were one of the best fourth lines in the league last year. Even when the whole team was a turd sandwich, every time the fourth line got out there, They were pinning guys in their own zone.
Yeah,
They were
pucks.
generating chances. It wasn't like a super high scoring type deal, but we got to see some excitement. Like every time they were out there, I was excited.
Yeah.
And even like Carrick having some huge moments, like big moments last year. Like I remember we were during when Carrick had that overtime goal, and we we were like, what the hell is Carrick doing out there? Why did they just put Carrick? And then what's he do? He freaking fleeces the goalie,
yep.
and it was beautiful. It was a nasty move too. So yeah, so Carrick and Edstrom and Rempe.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see Edstrom be able to stay healthy because Edstrom seemed to really finding his way out there.
And Edstrom, as much as I like him, flanking Carrick with Rempe, he's shown flashes where he could be chomping at a bit for that third line job, and he's a center, so he has a little added depth there. I have him on my wing, but he's a center.
He is fast. He is just such a fast player. He's such a fast skater. He's like a Miller because he's so tall. Now he might not be the quickest to get at speed, but when he gets going, like he's gonna beat you to the puck. Like.
And all right, so here's the centers here's the forwards we didn't mention, and we're not going to get into like all the prospects and folks down in Hartford. We're just talking about guys that really have the best chance. Familiar face Johnny Brodzinski, he's a center. Juuso Parssinen, center. Justin Dowling, recent addition from I believe Philadelphia, he's a center. So the Rangers have a lot of centers. It's funny, I was looking at their roster today. Rempe is listed as a center. Almost everyone's listed as a center.
Well, that's because Rempe was center. He was center or wing.
Yeah.
In the AHL.
That increases
and
his value.
The way I see it is like we got our set first and second line. We got a set fourth line.
Yeah, the third line really is the question.
That third line has like 6 people trying to fight it out to be on that line with Mika.
The only thing I think is a sure thing for the third line opening night is Vinny Trocheck centering it. And I know you and I differ on that, but that's what I think will happen.
I think he's too good to be a third line center. I mean,
but he's a great. See, that's the thing. If you have, that's my logic with the center flanks.
We do have center depth like a
JT, Mika, Troch, Carrick. I mean, that's.
Hey, and you know what?
Solid.
Talk crap on Chris Drury all you want, but I remember going into last season after we lost to the Florida Panthers, you went on this tirade about look at every team in the last 5 seasons who had a 1C, and we've had center issues. We've had problems with having a decent enough set of centers.
Yeah.
And now look what happened. Chris Drury, he's made some mistakes, but you can't say that he's been all garbage because he's fixed the center problem. We have too many centers that we don't know what to do with them. And we got probably, 3 centers who could be technically 1Cs. I mean, just depending on the day or depending on what they're doing at that time. So
if you and trust me, I'm not directly comparing us right away to Florida, but you look at teams like Florida, like Edmonton, the teams that have the depth. Their third lines are second lines on a bad team. So it's a luxury to have a guy like Vinny Trocheck on your third line as the center. That's assuming Mika can. And look, Mika at this point, in my opinion, was never a true 1A center. You see that every time he's matched up like a guy like Barkov. Heischer. Some of the other Stamkos, some of the more elite centers he's gone up against, he's generally not fared well. So you put him on the second with second line center opposed to JT. JT is not going to get pushed around as much. He's a better player than Mika. Frankly, he's got balls where Mika, I'm not sure what's going on there.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. That's those are my lines, and we could see some movement obviously from that.
I want to know who do you think who's gonna have more points at the end of the season, Miller or Brad?
Brad.
You think Brad will have more points?
I do.
You sure about that?
No,
I mean, he was what, like a little over a point a game this season?
Yeah, and Miller had.
But look at Miller. Since he came to the Rangers, he was well over a point a game.
Yeah, I mean,
he played what, like 30-something games and had like 40-something points or something. Like
Panarin's playing for his next contract. I just. He's led the Rangers all 6 seasons he's been here.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's impossible.
I think he's gonna. I think
Miller
Miller might give him a run for his money, though. I think
Sure.
Miller might be the point leader for this team. But that's such a good problem to have. Be like, who's gonna be the point leader? We got 2 point leaders in the running. So
yeah, I mean, both guys could easily do a point a game, or will do a point a game. You'd expect so, or better. On defense, let's get into defensive pairs. I think we'll be in alignment on this.
Yeah, for sure.
Fox and Gabs on the first line.
No questions. No disputes.
Yeah, you gotta give it a shot. The Rangers in the last couple seasons have operated with the philosophy of instead of having one good line and one shitty line on defense, they'll just have 2 mediocre lines.
Yeah.
Load up that first line. So the second line would be Borgen and Schneider.
Yep, that's exactly what I was going to say.
I ain't
Schneider
fucking around with Soucy or Vax on that second line. You put the homegrown kid on the second defensive pairing, and you let him cook. And I got Soucy and Vakanainen rounding up the third pair. And I put a note here. Morrow is on their heels. And I almost wouldn't feel bad about sitting one of those clowns for Morrow. I kind of want to see what the kid's got.
Urine, Vakanainen. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, first and second line on that line.
You know my stance.
That third line is questionable. But I'm going to say I'm happy that Jones finally got traded somewhere who's going to actually utilize him. Like Buffalo. Buffalo got him, and I wish him nothing but the best up there. I hope he gets a lot more ice time. I hope he makes his way to be a solid, a solid defenseman in the NHL now.
Yeah, there's different schools of thought on Zach Jones. I maintain that the Rangers just underutilized him, never gave him a chance.
Nope.
And really just kind of wasted a couple years of the kid's career, and frankly their time too.
Yeah.
So happy to see him.
Wasted everyone's time.
And happy to see him go to a team that I like and can kind of root for. It's not like he went to the Penguins or something like that, the Devils.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this is the last of my notes, and then I thought we would maybe just get into kind of our outlook and how we're feeling for the season.
Yeah.
But I did want to bring up the 3rd annual Shoulder Check Showcase is this weekend. Were you aware of that?
And I missed it.
No,
it didn't happen yet?
It didn't happen. It's on the 24th.
I seen the videos for it saying that it was coming up, but I thought it had been this past weekend, but I've been so busy that I just...
You did not miss it. So
Sweet.
It is on the 24th. It's in the same place as last year, Terry Connor's rink in Stamford, Connecticut. I'm sure, like last season, they will be doing like a live stream on YouTube. It's a great event. And there's a bunch of NHLers and some social media folks doing
It'll be fun because there's always a lot of Ducks and there's always a lot of Rangers who come out.
And that's the same thing this year. I looked at the rosters briefly before I came over. I don't remember everyone that's on it, but a lot of Rangers. Brett Berard, Rempe, Adam Fox.
We were all rooting for Rempe so hard last year's shoulder check game, and he finally potted one.
Well, then Quick is not playing, but he's a coach. So it's Team Quick versus Team Prentice. And I don't know much about Prentice, but I think
Pax Prentice.
I don't think
from the Malibu place.
I don't know who that is.
I was an addict for 10 years, and now I'm not. That's Pax Prentice. You don't remember those TV commercials?
No.
The Malibu retreat rehab. He's like, I was an addict for 10 years, and now I'm not.
Not well enough to remember the guy's name.
It's just a funny commercial. But dude's name was Pax Prentice.
That's a deep cut right there. you totally lost me on that.
Somebody out there watching knows what I'm talking about.
Shout us out.
Yeah.
But anyways, Team Prentice versus Team Quick, and Team Quick is coached by none other than Jonathan Quick and Marty St. Louis.
Oh.
So, and that's the team that has most of the Rangers on it. So I think I'll obviously be rooting for Team Quick. But it's a good event, a lot of fun. You can expect it to be a hoot and a holler. It'll be on YouTube. I'm sure they'll live stream it like they did last season, and be looking for that on the 24th. It's a good cause, and it reminded me when I was making it into my notes. I didn't look at the exact date, but we're coming up on about a year of the pod because we covered this in one of our second. I think it was our second episode. So, congrats to us for doing this for a year, and hopefully this season's a lot better. it was funny. We had so much fun watching the previous season. We were like, let's do a podcast.
Yeah, they win the President's Cup, and we're like, let's start a podcast. It's going to be great. And then it's nothing but let down.
We're sitting here thinking we're 2 wins away from the Cup, and boom. So the wheels fell off. But, yeah, that'll be fun. So let's, just wanted to put that out there. Check that game out. Donate if you can. It's a great event. And they have a website that has a lot more information about it. We can wrap up here soon. I didn't want to go on too long, but we did have a lot of ground to cover, being as we hadn't gotten together in a while. What is your, and this is just open talk, I don't have any notes. What is your feeling, thoughts? What's your outlook on the upcoming season?
Going in this whole off season, I've been kind of, paying attention to the moves they're making, and I've kind of been getting down about it. But then, while literally, I just had like an epiphany, like within the last 20 minutes while recording this podcast. When we were just talking about the center problem being fixed, something just hit me and was like, I just thought we were giving away a lot of pieces and not getting much back. So I was kind of like down. I was like, well, what's the team going to do? They're not going to have a good season. But after kind of analyzing what moves have actually been made and where the team stands, I think we're going to have a pretty decent season. Granted, it all depends on if the boys can get their heads out of their asses and be professionals and stop being deteriorated by whatever's going on in the locker room or off the ice. If they can do that, I don't see this team not making the playoffs again. I definitely think we're going to make the playoffs. I think we're going to have and I hope, but I also think we're going to have a statement season. The league we've been the laughing stock of the entire NHL for an entire season now, and I think the boys did not like that. They put a bad taste in their mouth, and they're going to come back this season kicking ass and taking names with a vengeance. So.
Yeah, I mean, all the talk and all the word around New York right now is that there's been communication. They communicated every step of the way with K'Andre Miller. They did the same with Kreider. It was documented. I think they're handling things better. I think vibes will be better.
Yep.
And just by law of probability, so many things went wrong, like catastrophically wrong last season, that it would almost be like it's almost impossible for this season to be as bad. I mean, really, if you think about like it's as strange as it was that every player did regress and it was such a shit season, it would. I mean, I'd really be surprised if it happened again.
And that's the exact same point that I'm trying to make. Is it can't happen again where it's just that bad. Every single thing that could have went wrong went wrong, and that's just not plausible.
Well, and heads have rolled already, but trust and believe, if this team's looking at outside of a wild card spot around the trade deadline, or just misses it by a little bit at the end of the season, heads are absolutely going to roll. That trip Mike Sullivan took to Sweden to hang out with Mika. That ain't gonna happen next season if things aren't better with him.
They probably drank hot cocoa together.
I mean, he'll be pushed out. Like I think both sides have agreed to play nice and try to work this out. But if he doesn't bounce back, I mean, you can't live with that contract. You can't live with that lack of performance and leadership from top paid players. But yeah, I'm feeling better about the season. I think we're also getting to that time of year where it's okay. It's okay to step away from last season, flush it down the toilet, and just kind of, think that the team can be better. Why not? Even if it's delusion, I don't think it is. I think the team, by just sheer probability and number of, additions and subtractions to the roster and coaching staff, the team will be better. I mean, it has to be.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's my thoughts as well.
Anything else on your mind?
Yeah, real quick. There's been like a lot of rumor talk still about Mika waiving his no move clause and stuff. Do you see it happening?
No.
You don't see it happen? You think he's just gonna? You think they've worked it out?
I think both sides. I mean, I think both like I said, I think everyone's agreed to play nice. I think we're going to give it another shot with Mika with less expectations. It reminds me of that Mad TV sketch, Lower Expectations. You lower your expectations and you're okay with less results. But, you know, if he can be an effective second line center or even, worst case, a good right winger on the first or second line, and he can hold his weight and be a leader on this team, I think we got a good player again. Might not be what we exactly wanted of him, but it's something you can live with. You know, last year Mopey Mika, we can't live with that. You know, he is at this point now. He's the longest tenure Raider. He has to act like that and be a leader.
And I will say, Mika's child is getting a little older, a little more independent, less wake ups in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe he's getting some better sleep now.
Hopefully.
And he'll turn it around. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got nothing else, man. I think we covered a lot. I think we covered everything that was imperative to cover.
Yeah. So let's check our schedules. We'll get together in another couple weeks.
Yep.
And see what's going on. By then, we'll be inching closer to training camp starting, preseason football, which I know you don't care about, but we'll be getting close to that. And you know, when preseason and frankly the actual season starts, it means hockey is literally right around the corner. So enjoy your summer, Steph. Enjoy your summer, everyone listening. And we'll be back with you soon.
All right, guys. Until next time.
Take care. Thank you.